can share. Tēnā koutou katoa.
David Shearer.
Speaker, te lawhalava malalelei, kia ora ana, taloha nei, bulavanaka. I could go on and on because there are 22 different greetings I could give today, and I just wanted to say warm Pacific greetings to you all. Tēnā koutou katoa. I hope you are enjoying the Wellington weather. You think this is bad? You want to see it on a really bad day? This is my Wellington compatriot here belong beside me. It's wonderful for you to have you here with us today. As I say, 70 different delegates from 22 different nations. Aotearoa, New Zealand is a Pacific nation. It's geographically where we live. And more than 20% of our population is Polynesian, either Maori or Pacific migrants. They're descendants particularly from Samoa, from Tonga, from the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau, which New Zealand has very close relationships with. Auckland is the largest Polynesian city in the world. The gateway to Auckland is guarded by Sir William Seo, the member for Mangere, who says he will be staying there for a long time. And the gateway to Wellington is guarded by Chris Farfoy, who, if you're going through Mana, that's his patch. So two Pacific MPs guard the entrance to two of our biggest cities. Pacific nations and over there. Sam, I could...
Order.
You're sort of in the middle.
Order.
You pass through Sam's electorate when you're going somewhere else.
Order. Member must use the member's full name.
Thank you. The Pacific nations are neighbours in the Pacific region, but they're our neighbours in our streets, and in my street in particular. So it's quite a unique relationship that we have. Pacifica people are overrepresented in our sports teams, particularly our rugby teams and our rugby league teams. And one of the great problems about the emigration to Australia is that we are losing some of the best talent that we would rather have here and giving it to our Australian opponents. While much in our culture and heritage has come from our European ancestry, and we are an increasingly multicultural country, Pacific influences have shaped the unique character of us as New Zealanders. We are part of the Pacific, and as a small country we look as a priority to making our contribution in the neighbourhood in which we live. We're committed to working with our neighbours to realise the vision set out by the Pacific Forum leaders that our region should be one of peace, of harmony, security and economic prosperity. It makes sense for our elected representatives and leaders to come together to discuss the issues and challenges that confront our region and work together to enhance the lives of all our peoples. One outcome will be that we get to know each other better and develop habits of cooperating and collaborating in a much more regular basis. The Pacific Forum, as you know, is now in its 40th year, and it provides an opportunity for Prime Ministers, leaders and Foreign Ministers to get together for talks. This forum today is the initiative of our Parliament, and I recognise the role that's been played by the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, John Hayes and the other members of that team, to bring together and enhance the cooperation between parliaments and between parliamentarians. And once again I say it's a great pleasure and an honour to welcome you here. Democracy is a common feature in our region. We know that democracy is a fragile thing, and one of the goals of this conference is to discuss how we can make democracy and the effectiveness and our responsiveness of our parliaments that much better. Democracy needs a free media, it needs an independent and strong judiciary, it needs institutions that guarantee and protect human rights. It requires openness and transparency, and all of those things help to protect the rights of people. It also needs properly functioning political parties to help bring order, efficiency and predictability to the way our political system operates. I hope you weren't put up too much by our question time. That's what we call robustness of debate, holding the government to account. It's going to be so much better when we're on that side and we have to answer the questions rather than on this side where we have to ask them. It won't be long. We're counting down the days. I've got a calendar on my wall and I'm just ticking them off. Good governance, in turn, helps us to achieve economic development and the social services people need to lead secure and fulfilling lives. The global financial crisis, as we know, revealed just how fragile the economies of many countries in our region actually are. Export levels and growth has fallen. Some countries have had to face real debt problems. We know others have vast natural resources and yet others are less well endowed. We need to focus on how we develop the strengths of our regions through fisheries, through our tropical agriculture and tourism, and reduce the dependence on imported fossil fuels. We also need to help build infrastructure and develop our human resources. We need to create decent transport and communication links, and I, for one, would like to see better links around the Pacific so our relatives can get to family weddings and to funerals. I'm actually reminded, as I say that, of the laughing Samoans, so many of you might know, who do travel around the Pacific every year. They make money out of making people laugh, which I have to say, as it must be a great occupation. Some people say that politicians are a bit like that as well. Economic development must be sustainable and must benefit all of the people in the country, not just its elite. And most particularly, we know that our environment is fragile and that our economic development must be environmentally sound. The Pacific is a beautiful region, but the reality is that the region is not as picture postcard-like as it might seem underneath it. And we have some real challenges. Certainly, socially and economically, we're well off track with the UN Millennium Development Goals, for example. So there are big challenges, and we need to work together to try and resolve those. And it's appropriate, therefore, that half of our development assistance is directed at the Pacific, something that actually wasn't the case for quite a long time until the Labor government, and I'm pleased that the National government has continued that trend. I mean that sincerely. They continue that trend to focus that assistance in that direction. But achieving better results for the Pacific also requires that old and new donor nations work together and support each other. And it's important not just to work with countries like Australia, Japan and the EU, but also China, which is on track to become one of the world's largest economy. We have to work cooperatively with all of those partners. Finally, there are other areas where New Zealand can continue to play a key role and support. In particular, what we call our Project Protector created significant new resources in our Navy. We have a small but perfectly formed defence force, which actually is getting smaller by the day under this government, but nevertheless. But we have new resources, as part of those resources, a multi-role vessel, an offshore patrol vessels which can help with search and rescue, with fisheries protection and with dealing with the impacts of natural disasters like cyclones and tsunamis. And those assets, Mr. Speaker, were purchased with the certainly the primary focus being to work more positively in the Pacific. This conference is not about, obviously, telling Pacific countries what they want or what they should do. It's about working together as neighbours that we are, learning together, collaborating to find solutions to the problems and challenges that we face. I hope, sir, that the conference is not just a one-off event. Once again, I congratulate the Foreign Affairs and Defence Select Committee for its foresight, but rather it's a first step in a parliamentary dialogue and decision-making process that can be expanded and that can be, therefore, the foundation for further and ongoing parliamentary cooperation. Kia ora tātou.
Very good. Whawhatai lava, Mr. Shearer. I call the honourable member